2, 3. Time to get on some music. And the checklist. Yep, another day, another stream 5 minutes late. That's fine. It happens. Shoot. Okay, so, I may or may not. Let's see. Once for tutoring, please see someone chat. I'll do what I can to help. Otherwise, today's lessons on something. Oh. Yeah. So, I know the plan was to... Oh, hey. Hey, it popped up on the side. Perfect. I know today that I was supposed to be more prepared and have something, more directly relevant to math and algebra. However, I was doing some... Oh, testing. Hello? There it goes. Mic was loose. I was doing some research onto advanced algebra. And I realized, yeah, you know what? I just remembered that it's really the kind of low-level beginner algebra with the variables that has a lot of like practical applications. But some of the later stuff is really kind of out there. Logarithmic functions and whatnot. It's kind of not quite the math that you can really easily incorporate into daily life, I think. Right? Maybe if you're like some kind of analyst or something, possibly. But otherwise, not so much. A copy of current board. Anonymous. Alright. But, 30 seconds. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish my setup in time. My apologies. Testing. I hope that mute works. So, if you'll just give me a moment, I'm just going to kind of throw the word out there, let people know that I'm finally live, and then we'll get started. Now, anyways, not only does the higher kind of algebra stuff doesn't really directly apply to stuff that goes on in everyday life, but it's hard to find where it might fit, right? Because, oh, live. Okay. I'll just take a quick break and draw a chart. So say, for example, you have this, right? And you're trying to figure out, I don't know, the formula for something like this, right? Some kind of algebraic formula of a shape that kind of goes wonky. Or actually, no, it wouldn't curve at the sides like that. My apologies. I think it just go like this, where it's parabolic here. Yeah, like that. There it is. Now, how can you apply this thing, right, to, like, I don't know, time management, groceries, you know, scheduling, just, you know, the boring kind of everyday life stuff that you do. How can you put that into there? I'm not sure. But so that's why I said today's lesson, even though I wanted to try to like do some kind of hard math stuff. Really, it's mostly just like finance and money management, time management. It's just those like number things that you put in your life. Is kind of really like more basic formulas. And a lot of like this kind of stuff, I'm not sure. Like, maybe if someone had some kind of formula for calculating their, I don't know, like, what would this be? Gas in a car? Something? right? Like maybe your tank is full, and then you're empty, and then you fill it up halfway, and then you go empty, and then it goes up again. But again, that's more like a sine function, right? Or like a cosine function, where it's just kind of like a wiggly wave. Where, you know, you have like gas, no gas, gas, no gas, gas. But something where it kind of like approaches a number, but like doesn't touch it, you know. Something like that. I don't know. I'm kind of struggling. I won't lie. So to that end, I do realize that it is December. So hey, cool. Happy December. And I think that finals are coming up. I don't know if it's like the semester or the quarter system. One of those, or maybe both, actually have finals that will be beginning soon. So I'm kind of excited. Maybe someone will come by. Although again, I'm trying to work on advertising the stream, letting people know that you know, this is a resource if they want it. They don't have to take it. But if anyone wants help with tutoring, I'm here. So while I do that, please forgive any kind of pause right at this moment, because now I'm just trying to, let's see, I am live now. Pacific Standard Time, I think is my usual logout. Yeah. And then I gotta find a picture. So, while I get this ready, again, apologies for any kind of dead air. On an unrelated note, it is the winter time. And I know, obvious statement is obvious. Yes. Also means Christmas stuff. I don't know if I can actually put on Christmas music though, right? Because I don't know what's copyrighted, what's safe, I guess. Although, you know, like, who goes into here and looks for copyrighted music? Great question. I have no idea. But whoever they are, I don't want to mess with them. So, if anyone has any recommendations for generic, copyright-free Christmas music, or maybe I should just check the YouTube video library. I could try to find something. Although it'd be like, I don't know. What if it's like the same 3 songs over and over again, you know? Then that would be not so good. Once we're tutoring, please say some chat and I'll do it. Something. No. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, if anyone wants any kind of help with homework. And again, I know it's like finals, so it's not necessarily just like math. Although that's kind of the one that a lot of people like. It's more formulaic and kind of easy to help, right? Because say for example, if it's something like I don't know, history or social studies, yeah. Let's see, DVDM. If it's something like that, then I wonder how could I actually help tutoring with that? Because at that point, when it comes to history and those kinds of things, isn't it more like rote memorization? Or maybe you just kind of have to, I don't know, figure out this person did X, and this person did Y. And then you have to, answer that. And although maybe I can't help someone understand that, I mean, there are some things that can help, like contextual test taking. Actually, you know what? Okay, again, I know I said I'd do more math stuff today, but I think, again, it'd be kind of silly to kind of do a subject and then it doesn't really help anyone because it's not like specifically something they're taking. And I know it might sound like an excuse. Like, why not just, do logarithmic functions, right? Sure, why not? Can I make a whole hour of it? Maybe. But will it help you, the random person? Probably not. So what about contextual test taking? And it's not cheating, but it's kind of understanding what is what, right? So one of my favorite examples of this, okay, and I don't know if this is a true story, but I heard this one, is there's a test question. Let's see if I can type it out. Where's the typing feature? I feel like an old man. Do I just start typing? Test. No. Test. Or maybe it's writing somewhere else. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I forgot how to type on this thing. It's enter tab. Whatever. I'll just write it out like I normally do. So what is the color of George Washington's white horse? So say, for example, you're taking a class on American history, right? Revolutionary War kind of stuff. And then you get this test question. You're like, oh man, well, what is the color of George Washington's white horse? Well, geez, golly gee whiz, I have no idea. Well, what could it possibly be? We didn't study this. We didn't take a test. Yeah, I wonder what is the color of George Washington's white horse. Well, guess I'll skip this for now. No, but that's kind of a more exaggerated example. Obviously, the color is right there in the question, right? And so in that sense, the answer is there for you, right? And I think when it comes to subjects that are not math, or maybe they do it with math now, if you have like a class that has like tests that are multiple choice questions, or that have like a lot of questions available, right? You can actually use some of the context clues to kind of figure out, the answer to a random question. So let's say, for example, you have a question, right, about a person for social studies, and it's a test, and it's about all these random people, right? But you see this one question about a person, and you're comparing it to another person. No, sorry. And they say, did this person do X? True or false? And you don't know. So then you think, I don't know this question, so I'm gonna skip it for now, right? And then later you come to another question that talks about the exact same person, right? And let's say, for example, oh yeah, this person was known for A, B, X, or Y, right? And you think, well, A is definitely wrong. This person had nothing to do with A. And I think Y was done by someone else. So it's either B or X. And then you think about it, and they think about it, it's like, you know what? That's right. It's not B. So if it's not A and it's not B, then it has to be X. So then maybe for like this happens in question 20, and then in question 50, like 100 questions, you know, you get your answer that this person did X, right? And so then after you kind of go through all the questions really quick, then when you double check them and go back over the ones you skipped, then you can kind of go back to part A and realize, oh, wait, hey, question 20, I ruled out that they did do X in this other question. So yeah, now it's true. And again, that's kind of using context, where it's not so much, or maybe I'm using that term wrong, but it's not so much necessarily knowing for sure. It's just ruling out the wrong answers, coming up with an answer, and then using that solution to help you propagate and fill out what happens for the rest of the test. And this is more of a test-taking strategy. It's kind of like how you play the game, right? Because let's do a game analogy, right? Let's say, for example, you need to make a potion, right? And you need 3 ingredients. You need smiley face, you need star, you need a check mark. Cool. And then you already got the smiley face, so you're done with that, and you already got star. But check mark's in an area that you never found before. And then you go to, you know, keep playing the game, progressing, and then like hours later, then you find a whole new area, a new zone. And the zone is full of like check marks. You're like, oh, so this is where I get the check marks. And then you come back, and then you make the potion, and then the potion will help you progress in the area that's there, right? So in a game sense, that's kind of what they do, where they kind of have that part where maybe you have only a partial solution in the beginning, and it kind of teases you to the next area. You go to the next area, and then you discover this new resource, and you apply it to this older recipe to help you progress into the game. That is a game play formula that can kind of keep engagement and discovery and a sense of accomplishment, right? But it doesn't just exist in games. Again, it also exists in at least multiple choice test taking, usually, where if you just rule out the wrong answers, then you can come up with a solution that will then help you for an earlier question when you go back to check your work. I think that's really neat. I think that's kind of one of the biggest test strategies I can recommend, at least for multiple choice, right? You know what? I think that'll be today's lesson. Today's lesson will be on test-taking strategies. Let me write that down. And I wanna double check to make sure that I posted that if someone... Did I post in the chat if anyone needs help? Yeah, if anyone needs help in tutoring, just say so. Alright, cool. So, test-taking strategies. Oh yeah. Test-taking strats. Okay. So, here's another one, right? Beyond just using context clues. How do you prepare for a test? You should probably study, right? Probably. But also the way in which you study can change how well you retain the information. I think what's pretty popular, or at least it used to be, I don't know how it is now, is to kind of cram, right? Maybe you have a test on Friday, and it's your final, and then you think, it's on Friday, I don't need to worry about it. And then on Thursday night, you're just up all night, and you're just studying, and studying, and studying, and studying, and you're not feeling that good, and then you get like, what was it, little bags under your eyes, right? You're just tired. And then come Friday, maybe you glaze through everything and you have no idea what happened, right? You don't remember anything. And you're like, how did this happen? I looked at the book the whole time, and I was reading it and I was studying and I couldn't remember anything. Well, that's because the way in which people typically would read and study for something that they're not interested in under pressure would be kind of like skimming, right? Let's say, for example, if there's... Oh, geez. What's another... Now I'll just explain how it works directly. So you look at a book and you read a thing, right? And then you could read the whole thing. You could say each individual word. You could read it out loud. You can say the thing. But then you can also maybe not retain any of what you just said. You're able to read it, but you're not thinking about it as you're reading. For example, you are... Or I shouldn't say you. I would. There we go. I want to blame someone, because what if they're a good student? I'm saying like, oh yeah, no, this is your mistake. No. This is a mistake that I've done, and I've learned from, and that I hope can help with test taking strategies. So let's say the boats, blah 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 blah, right? And then you read the boat, blah 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 blah. You read the whole thing, and then you're like, okay, what's this whole thing about? And you think, I don't know, it's about moving ocean or something. No, it's actually about a boat. And the reason why you couldn't remember it is because in reading under tiredness, reading under stress, reading under pressure will make you, again, just say the words, but not actually remember anything that you said. How do I say this without repeating myself? It's like reading a sign on the road. Okay, for anyone that drives, right? If you're driving and driving, there's a lot of information that comes at you. It's actually incredible, the amount of information that you get when you're driving on the road, right? And it's actually quite stressful. And you read sign after sign after sign that says, you know, city name, right? This exit, stay in this lane if you want to go to this city. And you're not really paying attention because these are the things that you don't need to know. You're just trying to figure out the street that you're looking for, right? And when you also are under stress of trying to not bump into other cars and things, you know, it's almost impossible to recall all this information about all these street signs because you didn't think that they were important. You're just trying to focus on the one thing that you're looking for, right? But the thing about studying under pressure and not really retaining it is that it functions exactly the same way, and that you cannot remember all these historical people, all these literary devices, all these formulas. It's hard to remember all these details because you might not know what you're looking for. And instead, you're just trying to find a destination. You're trying to find the golden ticket, like when it clicks, the answer. But there is none, and you're just driving in your mind. And you see all these signs, you're reading all this text, you're looking at all these words and names and formulas, and none of it's just sticking because it doesn't click that this is what you need. It doesn't click that this is the thing to pay attention to. Or maybe it is, right? But you don't, you know, you have to split like it in 50 different ways because it's finals. It's not just, you know, the test on the most recent chapter. It's a test on like a lot of stuff. So to that end, you know, cramming is usually an unsuccessful strategy for this reason, in that your memory doesn't quite register what the thing is, right? Now, of course, we could divvy this up. What if we, instead of do everything on Thursday night, what if we do it through a week, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I know this is like not necessarily a direct test taking strategy for the test day, but your final isn't today, right? It's not tomorrow, but it's soon. So, well, I shouldn't say yours, but generally finals are not like that. They're normally in the middle or near the end of December. So, That way you have like a lot of time to kind of ruminate over it during winter break. Yeah. All right. All right. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I think I actually took some during early winter. Okay, maybe someone's already taken finals. Fine. Um, Now what if you split these into days though, right? What if you did a chapter a day, right? Or chapters. So chapters like 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, 15 through 20, and then you have the final, right? Cool. So then in your mind, instead of cramming it all under one day, then you could kind of divvy it up. So then that way, you actually have something to focus on. You can focus on the formula for chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So that's like 5 formulas a day, or 5 characters, or 5 essays, or whatever, right? Then that helps. That helps you focus on that. But what if we could expand it further, right? And this is kind of where it's a bit unrealistic for it to apply right now, but next time. In that, what if you did it by week, right? So instead of thinking of time in terms of hours or minutes, go back into days, and then once you got days sorted out, go back into weeks. Or maybe you could think, all right, week 1 is chapter 1 through 5. And then you could actually set that for each day, right? So 1 is Monday, 2 is Tuesday, 3 is Wednesday, 4 is Thursday, 5 is Friday, right? And then in this way, this is basically what school is, where you kind of have work and chapters divided maybe into once every couple of days or once a day, depending on the speed of your class. Maybe once for every 3 days. That'd be nice if it was every 3 days, but I think it's usually like 1 to 2 days. And so this is kind of where, you know, doing the homework and taking the quizzes and succeeding well on those is actually an indicator for success in the finals. Because if you're able to retain the information for 1 day at a time, then when it comes to the final time, on like week, 5 or whatever? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Then it's not so bad, because you spent an entire day. Now, why does this work though? Well, for one, just like in the driving analogy, instead of, you know, driving to 100 different places but not, you know, reading all the signs and kind of confused and not knowing where to stop, right? Here you're going to one destination a day, and that destination is either, you know, some kind of reading lesson, some kind of story chapter, some kind of math formula. And that's why things like doing your homework, taking your quizzes, is an indicator of success for finals, because just doing that level at least can kind of help you retain that information. You have a single destination that you know where it is, you go to it, you stop there, and you do work there, you think about it, you apply it in a couple different ways. That's the ideal, right? But that's like, you know, weeks ago. That was maybe months ago. Now it's cram time. Now it's do or die. So for next time, you know, this is always a helpful strategy, because maybe the way you take a test and succeed in a test isn't the work that you put in the day or the weeks before, but the months prior, right? Where you have everything nice and spaced out, where you're able to really put focus into this sort of thing. So your success isn't really determined near the end, but at the very beginning, and then it stays successful throughout. And the final isn't so much a stressful thing, but more just like the easy result of sustained effort. Cool. But again, that's the ideal. Now, what if that didn't happen, right? Life happens. What if you couldn't put as much time into school as you'd like, and you're a little worried about it? Well, again, context clues, if it's multiple choice, can help, right? But if you don't have the time, then what about cramming and how to cram, right? How do you do it? How do you figure out what are the important things to remember? Well, first, yeah, and this is the craziest thing, right? Just ask. Just ask your teacher. Hey, what's gonna be on the final, right? Maybe they won't say anything. Maybe they'll say like, I don't know, everything. Maybe they'll say, well, you should know by now. It's the whole year. But if they're chill, if they're cool, they'll say, oh yeah, it's gonna be mostly this thing. It's gonna be mostly the last 3 chapters is gonna be on the final. And you'll be like, all right, sweet. So then now you know how to cram properly. Instead of having to do the whole year's worth, maybe if you did the whole year's worth, you get like a 90% or 100%, right? But if you get the last 2 chapters mostly, then you get like a 70 or 80. Cool, right? If they give you the right info, or maybe a 60. I don't know. But the point is that just being able to ask and just talk to your teacher, your professor, student aide, somebody, right? Maybe even a former student of that teacher, right? Someone who had their class last semester, last quarter, last year even. Just ask around, talk to people. And this can be really hard. I think if someone is probably apprehensive or shy, and you know they're like, well, I don't really know anybody in my class. I don't really talk to anyone. I just do the work and go home, and I'm still stressing out. Well, then that's an interesting predicament, because at this point, then that is almost, how do I put this? Will it hurt to ask? Or is it uncomfortable? Right? Like will someone lash out at you if you ask, or is it gonna just be kind of uncomfortable to ask? And then there's kind of a difference, right? Because, you know, if you ask your teacher and they freak out and they say, like, oh yeah, you should totally know about it, how dare you, right? I've rarely experienced that, but, you know, maybe. But I think, hopefully, that a student would know how their teacher would react. Would they just do that? Would they just be, you know, not really responsive? Or would they be, like, super helpful? And really, this is the ideal, right? But this is okay too, right? Because even if they're not that, you know, clear on what is on the test, you can also maybe get answers of what's not on the test. Or maybe they'll be kind of, you know, whatever about it. And then you could just ask another kid, right? Or not kid, student. But very rarely, right, would anyone kind of lash out at you. So I don't think asking would actually hurt. I hope not. And, you know, if that's the case, then, you know, please talk to someone about it. Ideally a family member or someone who's your guardian or, you know, cares. But beyond that, you know, asking is more kind of an uncomfortable thing, right? Because it almost feels like, I don't know, it's not quite begging, but it can be stressful to just kind of ask, you know, what am I supposed to do? I need help. What's going to be on the test? You know, do you guys know what's happening? If you have friends, that's helpful, right? If you have students who took the class prior and they can kind of tell you what's up, that's helpful too, right? And I'm sure there's plenty of resources to that end. But again, I cannot stress enough, just simply asking and talking, because once you reach the point of realizing that everyone's just a person, everyone's just human. Yes, they're their teacher, but they're not, like, you know, responsible for life or death, right? Maybe they'll hype it up and be like, yeah, the final's like 90% of your grade. If you fail, then this is it, right? Yeah, sometimes you get those kinds of teachers, but then also, you know, they're human too. You could just ask them, like, all right, cool, so what's on this 90% final? Like, what's gonna happen? Can you tell me? And maybe they'll say, yeah, sure. But I think asking is super important because it builds up a couple things. One, it lets you kind of broach that uncomfortableness to ask for help when you need it. Two, it helps you direct that question towards someone that can actually help. And, you know, I guess 3, you'll get results. You'll get an answer, right? A non-answer is also an answer, right? If you say, oh yeah, you know, is this going to be on the test? How about this? How about this, right? Unless, you know, maybe you could kind of read the teacher's poker face and then kind of tell, like, oh, okay, yeah, I see them reacting to this stuff, but not to this other stuff. So maybe this will be on the test and this won't. Who knows? But again, the important thing is to broach down comfortableness, because this will apply a lot in real life, right? Say, for example, and again, I know I'm talking about test taking, but I think asking for help is a test taking strat. Let's say, for example, if you have to make some kind of smoothie. Yeah, let's go with that. I like fruit. Does this look like a banana? Strawberry. Banana strawberry smoothie, right? And now it's a job. Now it's something you get paid for to do, right? But you forgot the recipe. What do? Well, you ask. Who do you ask? Your supervisor, or, you know, another person who works there. And then what's the result? Well, then you get to make the thing, right? When money's on the line, you're probably not too shy about it, because you want to get it done and you want to get paid. So maybe think about it in that sense, where, you know, oh, well, yeah, if it's something like, you know, this simple, or maybe you feel less embarrassment for asking, then you should totally go for it. And in a similar sense, I always recommend asking teacher-student aides, even if they feel like, this person's useless, they just read from the book, they don't know anything, they're just a teacher. Still, try. I recommend it. And that is like more of a pre-cramming test-taking strat, right? Because again, this is something that you want to do before you frantically study, and so that we can kind of get answers of, like, you know, what's going to be on the test. So I think that's a good idea. Now, what is another test-taking strategy? Well, I mean, on a, I guess, more practical, but not really good level, is not being honest with how you're taking your test. But I don't really want to talk about those strats, because that's probably not a good idea. You'll probably get caught, and even if you don't, you won't really learn the thing. And, you know, with math, it kind of, you know, builds up and builds up, right? Like a building. Less like a pyramid and more just like a building, like Jenga. And, you know, if one of these is kind of shaky because you cheated, then maybe later on you don't know what's happening because it references this thing like 5 times. And then the whole thing kind of collapses, and then you're struggling. At least that's how it is for math, right? I'm not sure for other subjects. Maybe it's like your last year and you don't care. I mean, you do you, but I never recommend cheating. 'Cause that is a... how do I put it? The skill that you learn from cheating is how to hide and obfuscate things. Less so than the actual thing that you're trying to be taught. To that end, right? Maybe you'll think, okay, then I'm pretty good at this. And so then maybe you're in a work environment where, you know, you have to keep track of a lot of money and bills going through. And, you know, you won't... the thought might cross your mind, where you think, you know what, I'm pretty good at this bad thing. What if I try it? Like, this is too stressful, or, you know, this job's not that important, or, you know, whatever dismissive ideology you might have about that current situation that you're in, you decide to handle it in a way that is dishonest and obfuscates that thing, right? Again, when you're in a work environment, it's different, right? In school, you know, maybe get caught, maybe get disciplined. And here it's about money. And a lot of people don't like being cheated out of money, or, you know, with the work that they give you and then not getting their money's worth. To that end, then they will promptly use some of that money to not help you. If you get fired, that'd be like the nicest thing, right? That'd be like the best, cleanest break. But there's worse things than getting fired. So, you know, again, the skills that you apply in your test, you might think you can get away with it, but it might also create this idea in your head that, oh yeah, I can do this in this other environment where there is money. And then people take that much more seriously. And then it's less likely that you'll be able to get just like a failing grade or get kicked out, right? It's going to be much more impactful, much more severe than that in a lot of different ways. So don't do it. I don't recommend it. And although there might be some test taking strats for that, please don't cheat. To that end, what if it saves you, right? And that's kind of like a moral dilemma, right? What if there is some strat you could use that you know would help you pass the test, and with that could be like at least a C. But then if you don't, then you know you're gonna get an F, right? I think it's important to kind of really think about the consequences thereafter, right? Because what is the cheating and the C gonna go into? Isn't it gonna go into a degree? Is it gonna go into another class that's harder and builds off that? Is it going to go into nothing and you're just done, right? But then with that F, you know, what are the real consequences of that? And again, I know this might not seem like a strat, but in terms of test taking, sometimes you gotta just accept that you might not pass, but still try. And maybe try again next time. Now, the reason why is because what does honestly taking an F do? It teaches you to be serious about it. It teaches you to realize, oh man, I really messed up. I can't do this again, right? Is this your first F ever? Is this your second? Is this your 40th? I don't know. If you're just failing everywhere, that's that's no good. Yeah, what are you doing in school for? Like, why not just get a job doing something else? If you're just gonna get a bunch of Fs and waste money and time, like, don't hurt yourself like that. It's okay. Not everyone is needs to be like a space astronaut neurosurgeon. It's all right. But if it's like your very first one, it can be hard to accept that loss, and it can be hard to be able to prepare for that and understand that and go to a test honestly with that. But what that does is it kind of builds a understanding of what comes next, right? Maybe if you fail this class, then you cannot take the next class, yes, but then you also get to repeat a class with material that you're comfortable with, and then you can also, how do I put it? You know how to better manage your time to prepare for it. You might feel more emboldened to, just ask your teacher for help or other people for help, or maybe even start, teaching other people as a way to kind of learn and retain information. And so to that end, just trying again, I think would be much more beneficial in the long run, because honestly, failing a test or a class even will be able to help prepare you for other disappointments that may come that maybe are not as in your power, like getting fired, or getting in a car accident, or going through financial difficulties, right? This is more of an issue, I think, for A students. Because let's say, for example, if you've always been a C student and you get an F, you're like, all right, it finally happened. It's not that big of a deal, right? But if you're someone who's just been like A's, A's, A's all their life, and then for like some reason you jump down to an F, it might be like the most stressful, like mind-blowing thing. Take it, just accept it and learn from it. Because, maybe that subject wasn't for you, or maybe you learned something about yourself where, you have to kind of grow from this experience. Because it is an experience, honestly. Getting your first failing grade, especially if it's like in a higher level education environment, that can be rough. And I empathize with that. But it may happen, and it's okay. And the test taking strat for this is, again, to just try again and accept it. Still try to study, right? Still try to ask questions. Still try to do the work, but try to be honest with it and prepare for the next time. Because if you get into the business world, it's kind of ruthless. There's a lot of times when you have to try again. There's a lot of businesses you have to try again, new strategies, new vendors, new scheduling, new hires, new everything, right? But that ability to try again and realize it's not the end of the world, I think is huge. And that, I think, is a huge test-taking strat. Because these things can be stressful, right? Tests can be very stressful. Finals can be stressful. Depending on how they're structured. If the teacher is really gregarious, then they'll be like, oh yeah, the final is only like a small, maybe 15% of your grade. But you did good enough, and even if you fail it, like you're good, right? That is a cool teacher, because they saw that you put in the continued effort and they reward that instead of just one final thing, right? And then maybe like a more like malicious teacher. How do I draw angry eyes? It's like pumpkin eyes. Like this, I guess. Right? Then they'll be like, oh yeah, your final is going to be like 95% of your grade. And if you don't get every single question, that's like 3% off your grade final, and everything you got wrong, if you get it wrong at a certain point, you might as well just leave my class. You don't belong here. There can be teachers like that, right? And if you have one of those, hey, my heart reaches out to you. I'm very sorry. But understand that this is not the only teacher teaching this class, right? Maybe they're the only teacher in that community college. Maybe they're the only teacher doing that version of that class in the area. But I mean, there's like other colleges, there's other online classes. If this is like the one thing that you need, and this guy is just being awful about it, we live in the States. If you're a United States citizen, you can go somewhere else. That's always an option. You can just walk away. And so, except that it's not necessarily you and your inability to do well in that class or that test, but it's more about that one teacher not respecting the students enough to kind of give them a chance to grow, and instead kind of being punitive and requiring an end goal. So don't beat yourself up over it, please. Again, not necessarily a specific strategy for taking a test, but more kind of accepting the results of the test and realizing, there's other ways. You can always try again. Maybe elsewhere, too. I mean, again, there's so many overlapping systems and schools that, it's not the end of the world. If it's a big financial thing, then yeah, it might be a pause. But again, you can always try again at a later date. I know people who have graduated college in their like late 40s, and man, when they got up on that stage, it was just the happiest thing in the world, because that's something that they put off or didn't want to do, or felt stressed about it, or had bad experiences. Life is long. Life is really long. And if you're at a point where you're in school, I imagine that life is longer still, right? I don't know a lot of people in their 70s or 80s going back to college. Maybe there are, but generally there's a lot of time to make up and to try again, as whenever is a good time for you. So don't feel too bad. Now, as for a specific strategy on how to go there, well then I guess you'd have to kind of look at more like budgeting and finance, because classes cost money. And I suppose you can look at my archive on YouTube to kind of figure out some kind of money math and how to manage that, so you can put away money for savings in school if you want. But that's something else. That is a small plug that I think I'm getting better at putting in there. For now, I think the important thing is to first ask, to use context clues, and to what's this example? And to not cram it all in one night, but try to divvy it up over a period of time. And I think those are kind of the major strategies for finding success in your finals. Oh wow. Talking about this, it took quite a long time. Okay, cool. Well, I know I started a bit late, but I can't, well, aside from very specific cheating strategies, I can't really think of much else to kind of add to this topic. Yeah. I think that's it for now. But I would like to say, for anyone who's preparing to take a test, that I wish you the absolute best of luck. And, believe in yourself. You got this. And even if you don't got this, believe in yourself anyways, because you'll get it later, or eventually. Or maybe you believe in yourself, and then you don't have it, and then that's because you don't need it, and then you believe in yourself doing something else, and then that's fine too. But, try to believe in yourself, finding success in the things that you do. And with that, I think we're good for the night. So, again, thank you for anyone who's still around. Really appreciate it. And I guess there's no one that needs help with homework right now. So, I'm going to sign out for the night. Have a good one. And see y'all next week.